Welcome to the SENCast. My name is Dale Pickles. I'm the host of the SENCast and the managing director of B Squared. If you are a new listener and this is your first SENCast, then welcome. The aim of the podcast is really simple. We want to reach as many people as we can so we can all learn, and when I say all, it really does include me, more about special educational needs and disability. This week, we're discussing time-saving tips for busy SENCos. And I'm discussing this with Ginny Bootman, and Ginny is currently a SENCO of 4 schools in Northamptonshire, and she talks at various events and has also written books for SENCOs. The SENCast is created and produced by us here at B Squared. We are the assessment people. We are the people you are told to come and see if you're struggling to show progress, because that's what we can do. Over the last few years, we've been creating an inclusive assessment system that can be used for all pupils in primary schools. So not just your SEN, it can be used for everyone. The system has different levels of detail for different levels of ability, but it makes looking at whole school data and comparing your SEND pupils and your not SEND pupils really simple. Also reduces teacher workload by only having one system to use. And our new features simplify report writing. And of course, having one system is going to save schools money. Visit the B Square website or click on the meeting link in the show notes to book a meeting with me to take you through how our assessment software can help you. But as always, let's get on with the podcast. In this week's show, we're discussing time-saving tips for busy SENCOs to protect their precious time. My guest is Ginny, Mrs. Yum Bootman. Ginny is currently a SENCO of 4 schools. She's been a teacher for a very long time. That's her words, not mine. A senior manager and head teacher. She speaks at various events around the country. She's also written a book for SENCOs full of tips around building relationships, saving time, and changing lives. Welcome back, Ginny.
It's great to be back.
Excellent. Every time we podcast, we are always talking about being more effective, saving time, improving outcomes, and today's episode is no different. The SENCO role is a very busy role. You got your head down, like all teachers, trying to get everything done, but it is important to spend some time to work smarter, not harder. And you're going to give us tips on how to do that.
Thank you. It's really interesting because when I do talks, it always comes up about saving time, and there isn't one size that fits all. And when I'm talking about things that help me save time, I'm presuming I do the 50-50 rule, Dale. Actually, 50% of it may be pertinent to people, 50% may not be. But the more that I talk to people about time saving, the more it comes back to being efficient. And so I think one of the ways that I try to make myself as efficient as possible is I am, as you know, I am paperless. And that really works for me. I am across 4 schools. So obviously it's really important that I am paperless because then I can access anything, anywhere. And it means that everything is accessible to me wherever I am. So I do not have to go to the physical filing cabinet, rifle through the files to find that missing bit of information that I need for a referral. And I'm sure other SENCOs will be like, oh my gosh, Ginny, yes. You know, the attendance, the ethnicity, those little things that when you're on a portal, you can't move on until you've filled in that gap. It literally won't let you. So to have all of the information to hand is really important. And I have to say, Dale changed my life by talking about having my second monitor, which I harp on about all the time. But the second monitor will always be one of my top time-saving tips, because if you have it on the monitor next to you, you're not having to open and close tabs, and you can just copy and paste across, and it brings me joy. Oh dear, that's a bit deep and meaningful, but it does bring me joy to be able to save time, by moving across. Talking about computers, my latest thing is actually sorting out my computer, Dale, so that I have, like proper files with proper names and everything is in them. And that is something I've done quite recently. So my favorites for websites of, for referrals, NHS things, they're now all beautifully indexed. Are we in the 90s? But they are very organized, whereas previously they came down as like a very long list, whereas now they are actually in folders, which I think you might be impressed with.
I am very impressed with, because a lot of people don't realize, that you had favorites and it goes up to that bar at the top. And then when you fill that up, you then click on arrow and it goes down the side, doesn't it? You get a really long list of favorites. People don't realize you can put folders in there, which means you can put folders across the top. So you can have one for websites, you can have one for safeguarding, you can have one for school software, school websites. You can organize it into groups. So what you have at the top, you end up like almost having loads of drop down with more key, rather than just 20 sites or however wide your monitor is. You can actually have 100 sites, really easily accessible and really easy to find. So well done. It is a really, and what I like, so I think you are someone who works on one computer. So you have your laptop and you just work on that laptop, or do you work on different computers?
Just one.
So another really good tip is, if you work on multiple computers, if you use a browser like Chrome or Microsoft Edge, you can sign into the browser. You can create an account and you sign into the browser. What's really, really cool about that is, as you add a favorite on one computer, it synchronizes to all the others. If you save a user ID and password on one computer, it saves it to all the others. And my recommendation is, even if you're working on one laptop, I would still sign in to the browser, because it will sync those up. So what would happen, Ginny, if I accidentally drove over your laptop today?
Well, we all know I would probably cry, and then I would have to begin again.
And that's the sort of thing, is you have to find all the websites, then you get in the, what's my password? Whereas if you sync them up, it backs up all your favorites, all your usernames and all your passwords with a nice secure location, so that if you then buy a new laptop, you open up that browser, you sign in, and about 30 seconds later, all your favorites appear across the top, and you go to that website you use all the time, you click on it, and it fills in your username and password automatically, because you've got it from the other computer. I think that not only being digital do you have access everywhere, but you're not reliant. So you use OneDrive and Teams and Google Drive and things like that. So in reality, if you sign into a browser and all those favorites and things are saved, and I drove over your laptop, if I gave you a new laptop, we would be back up to probably where you are in about 15 minutes, because all your stuff is still in Google. All your stuff is still in OneDrive. All your favorites are there. So in reality, by doing all of that, even though that laptop's gone, I don't really lose anything, because it's all stored up in the cloud. Whereas if I have one notebook with my meeting notes in, or if I have one document really important in one place and something happens to that, I've lost everything. So digital, especially with cloud storage, not the old USB sticks, really makes a very, very big difference. Now, Ginny mentioned your monitors, and everywhere I am, I always have two monitors. I have the screen I work on, and I have a reference screen. So if I'm writing something, so when I write my little scripts for the podcast, that's on my first monitor, and I have my guest's bio on half of the other monitor, and what they want to talk about on the other half, and I can write the scripts, which I start the podcast with. It's easy. This is what I work. This is what I reference. But I even have this when I use a laptop. So I don't have a full-size monitor with my laptop. You can get these Asus mobile monitors, which are about £250, which you can plug in via USB-C if your laptop has the right USB-C port. It's got to have a host or something in it. But I can, in my backpack, I have my laptop and I have my second monitor, which is like a very big iPad. I can be at an airport, I can be in a hotel, I get my laptop out, I get the second monitor out, I plug it in with one cable because it runs off the battery in the laptop or the power supply from the laptop, and I get my Bluetooth mouse out, and I am basically like I'm at the office. I have my two monitors. I can do everything as if I was in the office, and it is game-changing having that consistency for me that I'm not having to cramp and do it all on one little screen. I've got my two screens. So without a doubt, use tech to change your life.
Can I just go back to, because I am going to do what you've said. So for myself and anyone listening, to sign into Chrome, what does that actually mean in simple terms? Is it easy to explain?
Yeah, so basically in Chrome, if you click on like the three dots in the top right and go to settings, you'll have a thing which will come up and it will say sign in. Okay. And you will sign in.
Yeah.
And what it will do, it will then sync across your favorites, your saved usernames and passwords, your history. And what's really nice is do you have an iPad?
Yeah.
Do you have a phone?
Yeah.
Do you use the same browser on all three? So you use Chrome?
Yeah.
So if you have Chrome on your phone and Chrome on your tablet and you sign into all three, all those favorites on your desktop go onto your tablet. Whoa. And your phone.
I love it.
And it means when I open that website on my tablet, it's got the saved password from my desktop. But also, if Ginny's going, oh, Dale, I saw a really good thing. I was surfing the web on my iPad last night, and I found a really good website. It would be really good for you. Oh, what was it? On my desktop, I can go into my history, and it's got my combined history from all my devices. So I can actually see what website was I on my iPad last night.
Whoa. I love it.
It's a little thing. It's a bit annoying in schools when they sign you out of things, but if you have your own account and you can sign in, I would always recommend doing it.
And, it comes back to saving time, doesn't it? Because as you say, I've got it. And I have to say it is a thing of beauty, these beautiful folders at the top. And because I work across 3 different local education authorities, I have them for the different local education authorities, and then they come down. And if I'm doing a referral, I actually feel a little bit smug now because they are so ordered. I'm like, oh, I'll just go into that. And yes, as with these things, it takes a little bit of time to set up. But then I don't have that, oh, I know it's here somewhere conversation with myself. And I think it puts me in a better frame of mind to actually start my work because I've got those there. So that is absolutely, game-changing. Everything's game-changing for me, isn't it, Dale? But that is really good. And it's something that I can do kind of that doesn't take too much kind of brain power. I might do it, when I'm watching TV or something, just sorting those things out. In the same vein, thinking about emails, I realize that I draft emails and then my mind wanders and they aren't sent. So, I think I'm getting near the end of the year at the moment. So I'm clearing out all that debris of unsent draft emails and getting my email box, down to nothing. And I've been doing this for quite a while. I think it's great to save emails in folders, especially if it's, for particular children or for particular schools. Go on, you're going to throw something else at me, I think.
So there's different ways of using emails. There's a thing about threaded conversations, which I hate.
I hate more. I hate them.
I hate threaded conversations. Turn them off because I know, hang on, I talked to Ginny after this event. So Ginny would have sent me an email around the beginning of June. I can go and find it. If you have threaded emails on, you've got to know that actually there's been 3 other follow-up emails. So actually that's up here. No. Turn off threaded emails. Makes life a lot easier. If you are on a PC and you use Outlook, so if you're a Mac user, you don't get this because for some reason this feature isn't on Macs in Outlook. I do not know why, but it's a great feature, but not there, is the unread mail search folder.
Love it.
So Ginny talked about organising your emails. I have probably about 40 to 50 email rules.
Oh.
So if an email comes in from the school I'm a governor at, so it's got the @ and the school URL, go into my governor folder. I never have to manually move those emails. And if I then get, a Hampshire Governor Services, well, I'll stick that in the same folder. So that's another rule. So I just create rules and it moves them into these folders automatically. So without me having to spend time organising them, they move. The problem with this is if you're someone who kind of just monitors your inbox, you'll miss them. But that's where this unread mail search folder comes in, because it will monitor every single folder for your unread mail. So in the morning, I come in, I have 50 unread mail, and some of them are just, I need to make sure that emails come in every morning. And I see it, I'm happy. It just says success. I get loads of them which will say success. I get spam emails which come in at 9 o'clock every morning. You get the same stuff, but I also have notifications and things like that, or people who email in the morning. So I can go through and it goes through all my folders, and some of them I just go mark as read, but they're already filed in the correct place. Which means when I need to find an email, it's already in that folder. I've not had to remember to do it. So the rules, if you right click on an email, you can create a rule. It will say send all the emails from Ginny to podcasters folder. And then every email from Ginny will always go into that folder. And you can even go run all rules on the inbox, and it will then run that rule and find any email from Ginny in the inbox and move it into the podcasters folder. And then anytime Ginny emails after that, it will always go into the podcasters folder. But if I don't check that, I might miss it. And that's when that unread, and I drag, it's a search folder. You'll see it on your folder. There's maybe at the bottom, search folders. Under there, you should see unread mail. You can drag it up to your favorites in the top left. That's how I check my email.
I'm writing myself little notes here.
Ginny's not podcasting now. She's literally.
No, I'm the scholar. I'm learning. So I also love unread, but I've just written myself a little note to drag the unread bit to somewhere else.
To the top.
The unread is great. It's great because it gets me right to where I need to be. I also do quite like a flag on an email. I know. And I like a pin.
See, flagged emails, I probably should use categories more, which is a whole other level. But flagged emails, you have a flagged email search folder. So as those emails come in, you can flag them. Then in the search folder, there's flagged emails. If you drag up to the favorites as well, it's going to flag all the emails, whatever folder they're in, that you need to respond to.
Now, I think pinning an email, that's quite divisive, the pinned ones, because if people who are listening don't know about pinned ones, they go to the top of your email. And the worry is that a pinned email, I think sometimes, is that email that is going to drain more of your time, actually. So, we're talking about saving time, but actually they are my drainers, radiators and drains. They drain my time. So I have to be in the right frame of mind and have had the correct number of cups of tea to be able to really take those ones on.
So they're my flagged emails. My pinned emails are, I've got to make sure I do that quick thing today. So I'll stick it at the top. So I'll see it later and it will remind me. Quick things. If it's I've got to do that, I'm avoiding it, but I need to do it, it gets flagged and I'll come back to it. But categories, another one which is quite cool. So categories you can create. So I think in Outlook you get different colors and you can have the blue category, the pink category. You can rename them.
Love it.
So then you can have parent. You can kind of, what is it expected? Either, this is again, how do you categorize it? Is it who they are or what's expected of you? You can use the categories to kind of go, and you can go, it's a parent waiting on an LA. So you can assign a blue and an orange category, but you can rename them. So the categories, we use them here a lot of work. So when we have shared mailboxes, we know who's dealing with stuff. There's a load which are waiting on me because I've been very busy and I've got to get back to lots of people. But they all have a blue category which says waiting on Dale. I can't get away from them. And when the box is empty and it just says waiting on Dale on the last 5 emails, yeah, I've got to do something.
Yeah.
But it tells everyone, it's not just flagged, because flagged is nice and simple, but it's that bit of information. So categories can be, if you look through your flagged emails, and it might be some are important information, so I've flagged it so I always know. Others are, I've got to do something, I've got to go back to someone. Others, it's a conference thing. So Ginny's got 42 flagged emails because people want her to talk at conferences. So she can have another category so she can see all the conference ones.
Just, yeah. And we don't know about these things until we know about them.
No, I think being organized digitally is a different set of skills to being organized in your real world. And I know lots of teachers will love that lever arch folder with all those tabs down the side and all it organized, because we do things differently. But being organized and trying to stay organized is quite hard. And trying to organize with other people who don't necessarily always work the same way you do is also very hard, because the way I organize my files, the way you organize your files could be different. You might organize by activity. I might organize by person. But yeah, I would maybe sit there and go, is there better ways? In the cloud, all the cloud stuff generally wins.
Yeah.
But I could talk about tech all day.
And I think what you've said is, because we'll kind of move off tech. I'm sorry, Dale, we will move off tech. I think it's really important that we are all at different stages and we all have different ways of doing things. And I've become more and more aware of that recently, that in order for everyone to be able to equally access things, there has to be give. If somebody is going to put their armor on to technology, sometimes we have to go, do you know what? We need maybe a lever arch file, or as I called it the other day, an evil arch file.
But sometimes they also just need their hand holding.
Yeah.
So everyone at B Squared has 2 or 3 monitors. Yeah. No one's allowed to have one. Even if you work at home, you have 2 monitors. Yeah, because you're so much more productive. But for most people, when they come here, it's the first time they've ever worked with 2, and it scares them.
Yeah.
And I always find it's just another monitor. Why is that scary? It's because I've never done it. So you just spend a couple of times teaching them that if you just click here and drag and drop it to the monitor, look, you can now look at your emails. And this, are like, well, that's really easy. And you have to just show them the benefit. You have to kind of walk them through it.
Yeah. And I think that is it, that people need to see the benefit of it. I now have a Bluetooth mouse because of Dale, because Dale told me how wonderful it was. And that is great. I love the mouse that I've got. But the touchpad on my laptop stopped working. I thought maybe Dale had done something remotely so that I couldn't use it because it offends him so much. Anyway, so it meant that I had to use the remote mouse even when I didn't really want to, because there are times when it's just not, you just need to use your laptop. And I must have had, inverted commas, a broken touchpad on my laptop for, I'm going to be honest, about a year, right? And I was like, oh dear, this is really bad. So I Googled it, Dale, and I went onto my settings and it was turned off. So I think the moral of that story is, if something isn't working, Google it or YouTube it, because often there is a simple reason behind it. So I now am able to use either when it suits.
Now it's Windows P on every computer to connect to a projector, isn't it? Or an external TV. Oh, right. You plug it in and it's like, hang on, it's showing different or it's showing the same. I want it to, as another monitor, I want it to be the same monitor. You could do Windows and P and you have the choices. Years ago, it was like you had to put FN and then you'd look along the top row and one of the F buttons had the monitor icon. And that's the one. On this laptop, it's FN and FA, and then it cycles through the different options. And on another laptop from a different brand, it'll be FN and F4. One of those at the top probably turns your touchpad off.
There you go. Yeah.
Because if you are someone who rests your hands on it because you're typing and that touchpad is at the front, you can turn it off. So as you're typing, your cursor isn't moving. So there are reasons. It's not a stupid thing. Why would you have a button to turn this off? It's like, well, if that's your wrist rest and you're touching it with your knuckles or something, then you would want to turn it off. So, yeah, don't put up with stuff. Ask.
Yeah. And another thing I've now got is a little stand for my laptop and a wireless keyboard, so that actually from a
ergonomics
sitting point of view, I'm actually sitting better. And these are little things, but they do make a big difference. Something I found out this morning before we came on was something that was irking me. That's my latest word, irking me, was I have on my desktop some different links, but they all had a kind of similar logo. And so I looked on YouTube how to change the icon, which once again isn't a big thing. And I was like, oh my goodness, I can immediately see that icon, and I can get on immediately without having to look at all the other ones. And I actually put the icon on my bottom toolbar as well.
Right, last tech tip.
Yeah.
Because you just made me think of it. So, do you use a Notes app on your phone?
No.
So, every iPhone has a Notes app. Every iPad has a Notes app. And if you do something on an iPhone, it syncs to the iPad. Yeah, lovely.
Right.
But if you go into the Notes app and you've linked your iPhone or your iPad to your email account, like Google, or I use Office 365. So if you've done that and linked it to Office 365, if you go into the Notes app, where you get your list of notes, there's like a left arrow with folders. And if you click on that, you'll then see you've got different accounts. And one of them is called Exchange, which is really boring. It's old Microsoft terminology, but that basically means Office 365. If you click on that, I have notes in here. So I do all my notes in Exchange. Mm. What that means is if I go to my iPad and go to Exchange, my same notes are synced between my iPhone and my iPad. If I open up on my Windows PC the app called Sticky Notes, that will have all of my notes from Exchange. So all of my notes from my iPhone and my iPad are already on the PC. Wow. And if you go into Outlook, down the sidebar, there's a little notes icon. It's not quite as nice in there, which is why I use the Sticky Notes app. But again, if you click on that, you'll see all your notes from your iPad and your iPhone.
See, and it all saves time, because there is that seamlessness. When we're talking about seamlessness, that's a long word, isn't it? I love doing live notes in meetings. And I remember once, Dale, you said that when you went to your child's school, if you went to a meeting, you sometimes saw people writing notes and you felt like they were the police and they were writing evidence against you. And that really stuck with me. So what I do is I when we start the meeting, I say, is it okay with everyone if I do live notes, which I will share with you at the end of the meeting so that there's full transparency, and then I will print them out and then everyone will have a copy. This is such a time saver for me, because previously I would potentially write the notes with Dale on my shoulder saying, make sure you share them with everyone, because otherwise people understandably are putting their armour on. But now I type them up and then I read through them at the end of the meeting, and we all agree them, or they're changed according to amendments people want. It gets printed out for the parents. It gets saved in that child's folder. I have no more work to do for that meeting because it's all been done. I don't have to remember it and type it up at a later date. And actually, speaking to other SENCOs, I'm finding more and more SENCOs are doing this. And people are like, Ginny, it is such a great thing to do. So I think this idea of writing the notes during the meeting, I just think it's a kind of no-brainer, really.
I think we should do a podcast at some point, or at least have a chat around AI and SENCOs.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be go to the next level. There is a whole, where do you put that information? So if you use stuff like Teams, it can record. So if you have a Teams meeting, it can transcribe as you go. Mm. And then I think it's a little bit paid at the moment, but you then go, right, you've got the transcription. What are the actions? and it will then go through and go, these are the actions you've all said you need to do. So again, I always think when I was a governor, someone said if a governor is writing the minutes, they're not really in the meeting. So if you can take that minute recording out from someone's responsibility, again, you're going to be more present in the meeting.
And I like that. I'm going to take that away because actually it doesn't need to be me typing that up, and I've heard that as well about the person typing is not necessarily as present in the dialogue. So why not, have other people doing it? In fact, if you're in a meeting with parents, if parents wanted to, why, parents could do it if they felt confident to do it. So I think that's really good. I think when we're talking about saving time, I think as very busy SENCOs, I think we need to be very transparent about how much time we have and how much time we haven't got. There is a real divide in SENCOs with regard to electronic diaries and paper diaries. And I absolutely acknowledge that because, yes, Dale, I was that person who went to WH Smith or Staples or other places to buy my diary. And I found a chair to sit on with about 7 and, had to, there was a system by which you
felt them and everything. You had to feel how they felt.
Oh, well, it's all to do with that. I mean, it's all to do with the binding. Is it ring bound? Does it have a hard cover on it? Because I don't want it to bend. Does it have a plastic cover? Does it have a ribbon? What is the foot? Poor Dale, he's just like shaking his head. Does it have a popper clasp or does it have a magnetic clasp? Okay, I'll stop because poor Dale has fallen asleep. But whatever way that you do it, I think it's very important to share your diary with those who you work with to show where your time is being spent, because then it becomes apparent when you have got capacity to do things and when you haven't got capacity. I've moved, unsurprisingly, to an electronic diary so that people know where I am, when I am there. And then it's just, people just know. And actually, from a SENCO point of view, people go, to SENCOs, how do you do what you do? Also, I'm often in meetings with external agents, and so people can see when I am not available and when I am available. I also work part-time in my role, so I also block off the days I'm not working so that people can see. And as an aside to that, I also now have started doing out-of-office email. On the days that I don't work, my emails say this is a non-working day, because we need to protect our time and we need to protect ourselves. And I like, actually, if I get an email that somebody says, my working days are whatever they are, and I will get back to you, when I am next in the office.
I will not really pick a fight on the paper versus digital calendars because I won't. But the bit I will say on it is, if you have a digital calendar, as Ginny just said, other people can see how busy you are. And I have people in the office going, I was going to ask you to do something this week, Dale, but then I looked at your calendar. So I've penciled it in for next week. Yeah. I haven't even had to have that conversation or anything or go, can I do it this week? And then look at my calendar and then feel guilty because my answer is no, but you're looking at me and I want to say yes. Yeah. So none of that's already happened. They looked at my calendar, they have access to it. They've gone, they booked it in for next week. That visibility is amazing. If you have a digital calendar and you have that SENCO admin person and you have conversations around rules in your calendar, they can book things in for you. They can be doing stuff. And more and more, I end up arranging meetings with not the person I'm having a meeting with, but someone else. Because that person's really busy and they can go, oh, actually, Ginny's free on this day. So can you do this time? Great. I'll stick it in Ginny's calendar. And so again, that's the thing. It's not about paper or digital. It's that access and visibility. That's the biggest thing. And if you are overworked, but you have a calendar in your thing jam-packed full and no one else knows, then no one else knows how busy you are. And I know people love, and I have people here who love their paper, and I get it. And my friend and his wife argue paper versus thing because she has a lovely calendar on her fridge at home. And he's going, well, I have my work stuff. And we had that at home, and I would have to spend every other week, I would have to go through on the home calendar and write when I'm away, when I'm traveling, when I'm late back. And I would say to my wife, if you need me to do something, if you need me to take the kids to doctors, you need to put it in my work calendar because I'm not in charge of booking it in. So I can't just say, oh, I won't book out on a Friday afternoon. You need to take the kids to doctors on Friday afternoon, and I will be there. But visibility is what wins on that digital side.
And what I found was my work calendar, I didn't realize this, and if I didn't realize this, other people might not realize this, that then I can put my personal diary electronically in there, and it is hidden from work. So we have, talking about family diaries, we have a family diary, my personal diary, and my work diary, but it's very, very easy to actually decide who is able to see which diary, because I got in a pickle. I got in a pickle because I had my work diary and I hadn't worked out how to put my personal diary on. Dale, you're gonna just combust. So I had my electronic work diary and I had a paper diary for my personal stuff. And yeah,
it's hard
failed.
work.
It failed because I was having to kind of cross-reference them. So I am now fully and another reason is because I'm Team Dale electronic diaries, is because it's on my Android phone, it goes on my iPad, and it goes on my laptop. So I can access any of my diaries from any of my devices. And my biggest thing is I always have my phone with me.
One thing is I have one calendar. I'm just going to have one. But I have other people's calendars. So when I look at my phone, when I look at my calendar, I've got 4 different colors.
Yes. Love it.
Me, my wife, my people I work, the other directors, and I can see what everyone's up to. So I can see, can I arrange a meeting today? Can I? No, it's not today's not. I'll stick it. You get to see all that. I like the simplicity of just one calendar for me, but you can have a calendar, a home calendar through one system, a work calendar, and you can see when they overlap and do all of that. If you don't want that complexity, if you just want one calendar, but you want to put your own stuff in there as a reminder to you, you can mark events as private. And anyone who has access to your calendar will not see what that is. So if you're going to the hospital or you've got something you just don't want people to know about, you can just stick it in and mark it as private. And all they see you're blocked out, which is private event.
Cool.
So if you don't want to go down that complex, having multiple calendars, but you kind of going, well, I need to, especially for me, if a school could book me out to do training in Manchester on a Tuesday morning, but I'm doing something on Monday evening, but I don't want people to know what it is. Well, I can't travel up to Manchester, so I had to put it in my work calendar, but I don't want to know it, so I can put it in as a private event.
That's another little note I've written down to myself about all of these. I'm going to move off electronics and go a little bit more into I'm going to talk about lists. Okay. So every SENCO I speak to talks about their to-do list, but I've renamed them to doom lists, because if I write myself a long list, I don't know about everybody else, but firstly, I look at the things that I want to do and the things that I don't want to do. And then the things I don't want to do, I think they're going to take me 2 hours, so they kind of can get left. Dale is just beside himself, like, Ginny, what are you talking about? So I do not have a to-doom list. I have a ta-da at the end of the day, because I spoke to my husband about this. I said, you don't have a to-do list, do you? And I pointed at him. I said, you don't have a to-do list. How do you manage? And he said, Ginny, my brain prioritizes for me. And I was like, oh, that's yes. Yep. Okay. So I consciously, the next day, did not go with a to-do list. And it was great. That isn't to say that during the day I don't scribble things down, but they become manageable, because as SENCOs, our to-do list becomes a year-long event. So I am finding that really actually quite refreshing. And when I sit down to do my send work, it puts me in a better frame of mind. Having said that, for each of my schools, when people tell me things, I do save things. But Dale's just laughing at me. I just have a better outlook by not having this dreadfully long list.
So you said we're going to move on to tech, and you went straight into a topic that you should stop doing on paper and you should be doing online.
Well, there you go.
So, again, we will have a meeting after this, and I will give you 7 flavors, 7 different ways of doing it. And you can choose one word. Trello. Have you heard of Trello?
Kind of.
It's an online to-do list. Yeah? Right. But what you have, and I think I'm going to use the term buckets. Yeah, so you might have a to-do and a done, yeah?
Yeah.
And you can move something from to-do to done, and you get a sense of, that list's getting... You can have lots of different buckets.
Mm.
So you can have a in the classroom bucket, parents bucket, long-term projects bucket, a quick wins bucket. So rather than having this really long list, you can just go, right, that's a parents thing. That's a quick win. Yeah. And you can do it. And what's great, again, if you do it on Trello, there's an app on your phone, your Android phone, your iPad, and it's a website. So you can, in a meeting, I'll add that to my to-do list. And I add it to my unorganized list. So that's my new items type thing, which I then move to another list. Because some stuff, and I'm a little bit like your husband, I will prioritize things really well. But I'll forget about those maybe longer term things.
Yeah.
So I do all the quick wins, but I miss maybe the longer term stuff, which have a really big impact, but it's a lot of work. So by doing it this way, I get to go back. Now, there's a thing called Microsoft Planner. There's a thing called Microsoft To Do.
Yeah.
And what you can do is if you flag an email, it'll create a to-do item.
Whoa.
So these, again, it's all linking it all in. And Microsoft To Do can come up with, actually, you've got all these meetings today, but actually I can squeeze 5 activities in between the meetings. There's loads of little things like this that you will put things off. And there's also Microsoft Planner. What we use, Microsoft Planner. You have planners for different things. So you might have a whole school planner. You might have an SLT planner. You might have a SEND planner. You might have an all staff, whatever. You can have different planners. But multiple people can have tasks. So you might have tasks on the whole school, on the teaching staff, the training, and the SEND. You might have tasks all over the place. But you can go to show me my tasks. And you can have deadlines. So your deadline is on the second Tuesday after the summer holidays, you've got to do a training session on blah. So you can put in, I've got to get this task done and I'm going to do a deadline a week before.
This is the latest.
We will pause here, but we will have a conversation about to-do lists and planning and organising. But I would say a lot of it, and again, visibility is people can assign you tasks, which sounds a bit like people throwing stuff at you, which they are. But you can kind of then maybe sit down with the head teacher and look at my to-do list, look at all the stuff you've asked me to do, look at all the stuff coming in, look at all the stuff I have to do. That's my to-do list. What are we going to do? It's growing every day.
That sounds great, because at the moment I have something similar but not as efficient. And what I love, every time I speak to you, Dale, you give me something that will make things more efficient and that will save time, which brings us very nicely onto systems, because I'm very much a believer in systems. And I think as SENCOs, and I hear this a lot, people go, oh, Ginny, can you speak to that parent? You're really good with parents. Oh, Ginny, can you fill in a form? You're really good filling in forms. And I'm like, I'm not really good at either. I just do it a lot. So I think to actually be able to have a system whereby everybody knows where they sit with regard to different things that happen within special needs, be it that it's the teacher who knows the children best. If we are doing a referral and we need information, the teacher knows the child best. It might be that we ask them to fill in a template about the information that we require, whereas years ago, I would have sat down, had a meeting with the teacher, I would have written the notes, and then I would have typed the notes up. So I think it's about actually asking, is this a meeting or is this information sharing? And I find by asking staff to fill in information, it actually makes teachers consider the needs of the children. Also, they can acknowledge what they're already doing. And I have these people go, gosh, Ginny, actually, I am doing a lot in the classroom, aren't I, for them? So I'm quite an advocate of sitting down with teachers, senior leaders, heads, with oh my goodness, poor Dale's not going to like what I'm going to say, with a piece of paper and some sticky notes and going, actually, if this is a referral, whose responsibility is it to fill in the paperwork? At what levels do different people get involved? And I think that then, as my dad would say, again, calms the job down. And if everyone knows that is the protocol, the system that we're following, then nobody is surprised when they are asked to do something.
But also, I think a lot of times when you're asked to talk to a parent because you're good at it, it's not really about you. That's their lack of confidence, which goes back to our previous episode, which it was about getting your voice heard, which was about building those relationships and being listened to. And if you can change that person and build their knowledge and build their confidence, they're not going to come and ask you to talk to that parent because they're more confident in having that conversation. And it's about that relationship. So they can have the conversation, but they might get stuff told to us they're not sure about, and they can come to you afterwards. And it's that sort of thing. It's that ownership goes to them because you are giving them that confidence and building up their skills to be able to do that without you.
Yeah. And I think probably the last thing I would say about saving time is actually, it might seem counterproductive, but actually as SENCOs, we do need to have that time to pause and actually reflect on what we're doing, because we can be on that treadmill so much. To actually just pause, have that cup of tea, and actually acknowledge how much we have achieved, because we're always chasing for the thing we haven't done and chasing, and there will always be things to do. But I think by having systems in place, that allows us to go, okay, by having, let's say, an electronic diary, I now go, actually, tomorrow is full. I am not going to try and put anything extra into tomorrow because my day is full. And as SENCOs, we find that hard because we try to find time that we haven't got on a full day. So I think my finishing kind of quote is, actually, SENCOs are doing amazing jobs with the time that they have. If we can find those little tweaks and those little things that we can change, absolutely brilliant. But be transparent with everybody who you work with, not in a I'm so busy, but just this is what I'm doing this week.
For me, every Friday, the afternoon, and my afternoon is blocked out on Fridays, not because I'm poets. Do you know poets? Piss off early, tomorrow's Saturday.
Oh, okay. No wonder I don't know it, Dale.
It's not a teaching thing. You obviously can't as teachers. But it's not going to do that. But Friday, I block Friday afternoon out because the main thing I do is I use it to look at next week and the week after. What is coming? What have I missed and not got ready? Also, I also have lots of time to get the things I haven't had a chance to do this week. The stuff I said I would do, But loads of other stuff are coming in, and I'm literally going, I still haven't done that. I need to get that done. So I always have time on Friday afternoon to get those things wrapped up and to sit there and go, what have I got next week? And go, oh, I'm not ready for that. Psychologically, I'm already there in next week. It's not going to be a shock on Monday morning. I'm not going to get surprised by anything. I literally go through all my calendar meetings and look, have I got anything to prepare for them? And I have been very busy. And look, I've literally looked on Tuesday, I'm doing a webinar, and I've gone, I've not written it. And I'm going, I haven't even got ready for my webinar on Tuesday. So that was that Friday afternoon, I'm writing webinars. And that's went into Monday, and I knew that I couldn't. So being ready, proactive. And my colleague John he's blocked out, I think it's about half an hour on the Thursday to look at the next week. So again, he's not sitting there coming in and being on the back foot. He's looking at that week. He knows what next week looks like. So if anyone asks him, he already knows what the answer is going to be. So it's finding time. And it sounds like you're doing less, but you're not. You're doing more because you're doing things when you should, and you're ready for each thing, which means each thing is going to be more successful. Each thing's going to have a better outcome, often meaning less work for you. It's worth doing those things. And it does sound, when you start doing it, counterproductive, but it's not.
No, it's not. I'm going to finish with something that does make me chuckle. And I took a photo of it, and it ended up quite popular on X. So I was doing some work in one of my schools and I was sitting in the head's office, and I said, make a sign so that people don't disturb me, because I have my headphones on. They'll change my life with my headphones as well, but there you go. And the sign said, SENCO at work, do not disturb, easily distracted. And I loved it, and nobody bothered me. That was a sign that somebody made and stuck on the door, which was to the point, but was like, just leave Ginny alone and let her get through that paperwork so that she can find that yum time to be with the children, because that's what it's all about. We want to actually be with the children. And so by saving time in other ways, we get to spend more time with the children, which is what it's all about.
And that's ultimately when I think of what a SENCO's role is. It's not paperwork. It's not annual reviews. That's what you have to do. It's not what the role is about. The role is about supporting the young children and supporting the teachers to support them and all those relationships. That's, to me, what the SENCO role really is. And I know probably lots of SENCOs who don't do that part at all because they do not have the time, because they haven't got processes. They are, in reality, sometimes it's really hard to say, they are not organised. They are unorganised, not disorganised. Maybe they think they're organised, but it then unravels. Yeah, it then unravels when everything's being thrown at you. You lose that organised. It's keeping that organised, and it's how you do that is with more processes. So early identification form was one of your other tips.
Yeah.
Actually going, don't just come to me with a concern. Have a form. What have you done? Who is it? Why? What have you already done? Yeah, quality first teaching, high quality, whatever you want to call it. What have you already done before you come to me? Because if that is blank or not, I'm just going to quickly reply with, you haven't done loads of stuff. Please do that first. Not in a horrible way, but come on, I'll help you. Maybe you need some help, but that's what's got to happen first. And just having those processes, being protective of your time and all those sorts of things, and being really organised, you'll get more done.
Yeah.
Rather than chasing those spinning plates, going which one's wobbling. If you had a way of knowing which one was going to wobble, you'd calmly walk around and just give them a spin before they start wobbling. Yeah, if you kind of can get there and go, actually, let's be proactive. Let's really get this organised. Let me go and talk to year 3 because they mentioned something the other day. I have time and I get to go and I can go and do it. Yeah, organised means you can be proactive. If you're not organised, you're always going to be reactive. And a paper to-do list and a paper calendar is very private. If you can get things digital that other people can access and other people can see what you are doing, they are more likely to understand how burnt out you are, how much you've got on your plate, and hopefully you can then talk to them about how that can change.
Yeah. Here.
Excellent. We sold everything now.
I've got a long to-do list of things I've got to look up, which is already bringing me joy.
We'll have a chat after we've wrapped up. We'll have a chat.
Thank you, Dale.
Thank you for coming on the show today. Thank you for just saying how much I changed your life.
Well, these little technological things make such a difference, you know.
It really does. I spend my whole life thinking there's got to be a better way, and technology is always improving. And what I would say, another thing is, I love ChatGPT. Rather than Googling your problem, because sometimes with Google you get loads of spam, don't you? You get loads of rubbish results. If you ask ChatGPT, on my laptop, my trackpad doesn't work. Why? It might give you just 4 or 5 things to do. And ChatGPT and things like that can give you much better results than Google for certain things. So it's worth having a look at that as well. Brilliant. So, as always, I've got links from Ginny. I've got her contact details, all her social medias, her X, which I still call Twitter, all there for you to go and follow Ginny, email her, go to her website and have a look. And they're all on the show notes, which is wherever you're listening to the podcast or on our website. So thank you for listening to the show. If you enjoy the show, share it with everyone. Share the joy with everyone. And buy some yum-yums as well. Always a yum-yum thing with Ginny. Everyone knows B Squared for helping schools to show those small steps of progress for pupils with SEND. But over the last few years, we've been trying to make the software work for all pupils, because we know we're often used alongside another system, which adds expense, 2 data sets. It's more complicated. So you can now use our software for all pupils in primary schools with different levels of details for different levels of ability. So you can have one framework for your SEN and one framework for your non-SEN. We can look at your whole school data as a single data set. It makes all that stuff like Pupil Premium, for all that sort of stuff, really, really simple. You're not having to bring 2 different data sets together. It also reduces teacher workload by only having to use one system. It saves you time. It saves you all your admin stuff, saves you money. And our new features really simplify report writing using AI, which is really cool. And if you're interested and want to find out more, you'll find a link to the website and to book a meeting with me in the show notes. You can also find out about our free online training, our conferences, read our blog, or watch our webinars. It is all on the B Squared website. So thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode of the SENCast. It is goodbye from me.
And it is goodbye from Mrs. Yum Yum.
Bye.